So, hello and welcome to this podcast where we are bringing recipients of the Golden Ratio Awards. The Golden Ratio is a mathematical principle which is the epitome of perfection. And today, it's my privilege to bring to you Mr. Parmindar Singh from Loco Design Studio.
Thank you.
Loco Design Studio is in Gurugram and offers innovative design solutions across branding, product design, and experience design. The studio focuses on delivering creative, user-centric experiences, working with both startups and established brands to develop fresh, engaging concepts. I'm your host, Dr. Pramil Pandey, and I'll be speaking to you about your design journey.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, Parminder, first of all, what inspired you to take up design as a career profession? And what were the key moments in your design journey?
I think it all started very fluidly. I don't think I had ever thought that I would be a product designer. I've always let things flow, take it as it comes. I feel that I've been very blessed all my life because I was fairly skilled at studies, sports, arts, crafts, everything. And so in a way, it was everything came easy, but at the same time, I don't think it was the best thing for me to happen because I was good at most things that I did. So I could never make up my mind as to who I was. So I let things flow, and I ended up, doing economics honors from Ahmedabad, actually, one of the colleges here. And that's around the time when my father actually, for the first time, asked me, "What do you really want to do with your life?" Because, of course, one of the first few people in the family to actually be so bright in studies and was taking everything in the stride, and suddenly there was like a complete vacuum as to what do I really want to do. That's when I started working on myself, and I worked for the first time in my life. I actually worked hard at studies, and I started appearing for random entrance exams.
Not specific to design, is it?
No, it was mostly management. Also at the same time, I'd been seeing my wife Shaina for the longest time. We'd been in school together since 6th, and we started dating when we were in 9th. She was in Delhi, and I was trying to find a reason to come to Delhi. So, being very straightforward about it, I think that was probably the single biggest reason as to why I went to NIF, because I actually left MICA. It was the first batch of MICA, and people said that you're making the biggest mistake of your life. I'm like, my mind somewhere else. So I think that was the reason why I probably left Ahmedabad and went Delhi. But having said that, while I was preparing for my exams, I appeared for literally everything from IIMs to XLRI to IIFT, and cleared a lot of them actually. And while I was doing that, I used to visit the British Library here in Ahmedabad at that point in time. And I would sit there and I would for hours try to guess to what am I really going to do, because I actually had never ever thought that I just do. What do I really want to do with that? I was never ambitious about myself. But our family has been structured in such a way that we never use the word I, always use the word we.
And you did.
So we have always been a very inclusive family from my grandfather times, whatever I've heard. So my cousins were by my brothers as much as my real brother was. So the single biggest learning that I had from my family is that we should all grow together. So I could never think for myself, and I never wanted to, and I still don't feel like. So I really wanted to do something where I could actually do something bigger than myself and involve a lot of people. I didn't know who it was, but that had always been my drive. So while I was sitting in the British Library, I was going through the book, and the lady who was running the library at that point in time used to help me a lot. And she came and she said, "Here, you seem to be this." So she said, "So you seem to be a little disturbed." I said, "I'm not disturbed. Like, I can't make up my mind, so I'm very confused." She says, "What happened?" So, I appeared for 7 different streams of NIFT and I cleared 6 of them. So I'm trying to figure out, what do I really want? And she said, "So tell me what streams are these." So I narrated all of them. And she said, "Do you know what each one of them means?" I said, "No." I had no clue. Except for fashion, I had no clue what other things were. And I never knew that NIFT had, so many different streams.
Right.
It was all about fashion. So she very nicely pulled out 3 books each from each stream. And she said, "Just calmly, just go through them." So I went through them and I saw a book from Lali, jewelry created by Lali. I opened the pages, and by the 3rd page, I felt that there was something which was pulling me in. I'm like, that is really fascinating. How does one go deep into it and create such detailed products and such beautiful? And it wasn't only about jewelry; it was engineering. It was, it was craftsmanship. It was beauty, aesthetic, everything in that one product.
Right.
And then another page had this fish. I remember very clearly, from this jewelry designer called Berger. I think it was a gem, which moved, and I was like, that's fascinating. How does that happen?
Yeah.
So then later, she comes to me and she said, "So what do you think?" I said, "I think I love what is happening in this pile of books. So what is this about?" She said, "This is accessory design." I'm like, okay, that's what I want to do. So that was my first drawing towards the accessory design department in NIFT. That's how I joined.
And was that the deciding factor as well?
Yeah.
How incredible is that? Like an accidental. This is a visit to the library, okay, to explore and understand. But the lady, was she the librarian, or was she a curator?
Yeah. Also, she was literally mentoring me.
Right, because that is incredible. To come across someone equally passionate about their job, so they pulled out those books that would be of interest to you. Yeah.
There are a few people in your life, who do that one little thing and they make such an incredible difference to your journey by saying that one sentence, and that becomes more important than years of learning. True, I think that's true. I think every now and then these incredible things happen, and one just picks it up and makes you think, "Oh, I think that's what I should be doing."
Incredible. And fortunate as well, because seems like that seems to have been your passion as well eventually, right? It grew into your passion, which you then have converted into your profession and your very successful brand identity and company. So tell me, so at the time, because you're much younger, from our generation, it didn't occur to you to use technology to the keywords, to understand what these courses were offering?
I have never been a very tech person. I remember my first experience with computers was looking at the screen in school when I was in the 7th or 8th standard, and looking at somebody typing one of those languages, C+, or
right,
which MS-DOS. Yeah. And I was like, the moment I looked at it, somebody tried really hard to teach me that whole thing of flowcharts and if, then, go to, and all of that. I'm like, somehow it doesn't do anything for me. But at the same time, it's not that I made it my mission to make sure that I understand everything. I don't necessarily need to be practicing it myself, because there are professionals for everything. There are people who can do those jobs much better than you can. And those are the people, I think, who should be given the opportunity to explore what they are good at. I'll do what I'm good at. I I can't sit still, mentally as well as physically. I have this. People think that I'm very laid back, but there is an incredible amount of energy that is, that's going on in my head all the time, and so much so that sometimes I have this very strong nervous twitch, which people find very disturbing. Because my head starts shaking. And
So it's all that energy bursting out of you, right? Or wanting to.
it is about that. But I've over the years I've learned how to contain myself a little bit. I think running is a good thing. Working out is a good thing. Listening is a very good thing for me. I think can't read because I can't focus. Extremely poor at reading because third line I'm lost somewhere because the imagination has taken over. So if I have to read something, I have to read the same page 4 times over to start making sense. So
that's a good thing, because if you start doing everything, I mean the doing as well as the reading, then I mean I wonder what the others are going to do.
Reading is a great habit. I think everybody should do it. There are books that I've read which have drawn me completely, but there are mostly things which I get. It just doesn't happen. Yeah, I think I love to see and I love to listen.
So exploring materials is something that you would like to do, is it? Is something which you're passionate about?
I still tell people. So we have a library in the studio, and every time a new material comes in, I'm like a child. It's exciting for me to touch and feel and start imagining what that material can actually do, and exploring possibilities with things. So sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a really bad thing, because it's about focus. You need to do something with one particular thing and then move on to the next time. At the same time, we're trying to do 10 different things. But that keeps it exciting.
Yeah, it keeps it exciting, I'm sure. Yes. So now this brings me, because of all your material handling that you love doing, and then also the nature of the products that you designed, there is a lot of handcrafted intervention. So when the world is talking about technological interventions, AI, and how it's impacting design, or how it may impact design, and how designers may become irrelevant, we don't know yet. And they're considered disruptive technologies. How do you view the traditional knowledge systems of India and their future in design, and perhaps creating an identity for India now?
See, I think today I think we are at the most fortunate situation that any country in the world can be in. I think the opportunities that lie in our country today are incredible. We have traditional values, traditional systems. At the same time, we have state-of-the-art technologies. We have the youth. We have the knowledge of the old people. Everything put together, I think it can be an incredible force. And it's already happening to some extent. But I would say technology is never a bad thing. As long as one understands that it's a medium to make you do things either faster, better, or smarter. You need to make a choice. I don't see a robot handcrafting a bag for me. But at the same time, I will not shun away from a laser cutter cutting up perfect patterns for me. The idea is in the balance that you create, and that's, I think, which has been the mainstay of what we've been doing for years. If we are bringing in technology into the factory, we are bringing in technology to make sure that we are aiding our craftsmen to make better things. if I have a CNC machine today, or a laser cutter, or a 3D printer, it's not because we want to replace someone, but I want to make sure that if I am 3D printing something, I can help someone visualize it easier, better, because what I'm trying to do when I'm putting it on a screen and telling them, look at this, and rotating it, they cannot comprehend. I can't comprehend sometimes. So what exactly is going to be the transition? What is a joinery? Where exactly does it touch? And you can't keep rotating it in front of the person. I mean, it doesn't quite work. So if you have a physical object in front of you that can actually show the person the form and the transition and how exactly and where exactly does it need to join, the technology has done its job.
Right.
Now, we use an example in the factory. For example, if there is no skill in cutting wood, right? But there is skill in understanding wood. If you know that your wood is seasoned right, then to put it in a panel, or to cut it because it's being cut by a machine so that you can increase the productivity of people, I think there is no shame in it.
Correct.
But if we want to be absolute purist and we feel that, just because we are using machines to do something and hence we are lesser beings, which for a long span of time has been something that the design gurus or our traditional way of thinking tells us. So those are small changes that we need to make. But at the same time, there is a wealth of knowledge that we have. The craftsmanship that is there in this country today is incredible. And our sole ambition in the studio and in the factories was that we want to take people who are extremely skilled but are creating products which are mediocre at best, and give them back the opportunity to create things which the top luxury companies in the world would be proud to have. And I'm really happy that all of us, when we've put that whole system together, it has worked incredibly. Today, we have all kinds of brands from the world walking into the space and telling us one thing, which is a common factor, is that we've never seen a space like this. And I think it's such a matter of pride. They see the finest of machines, and they see finest of craftsmen, and they see pride. We don't have supervisors on the floor, for example. There is nobody who's a production manager on the floor. Zero at all. Everyone who works on the floor, and I'm talking about 1,500 people, I'm not talking about 10, 20, 30 people. In the space where there is where there are craftsmen, the head is a senior craftsman who has grown into the ranks and has shown the ability to manage and master how to make sure that everybody is working cohesively and is actually creating the right kind of product in the right quality. So yeah, there is so much of that we can borrow from the olden times and continue to practice, because there is a dearth of fine craftsmanship in the world today. Handful of countries like maybe Peru, some bits of Chile. We see that diminishing in Italy. You walk into a factory in Italy today, you find nobody below the age of 50, 55, 60. And anybody who's younger is somebody probably who's migrated there because he had no other opportunity, and hence is today doing something which is from India or from China or places like that. But none of the traditional craftsmen are actually passing on the knowledge in those countries to the younger ones. And we are so happy when today in our factories there are people who are still 19, 20 years old, and there are people who are 55, 58 years old. And which gives us the confidence that yes, younger people are actually willing to learn.
But that is an incredible example that you're citing, because largely when you meet master craftsmen, they are wary about their children pursuing their traditional crafts which have been practiced for generations in their families. And if you're able to integrate both technology and traditional knowledge systems in such a seamless manner to produce such not only efficiently but exquisite designs, I mean, like the finish gets impacted, time gets impacted. I think that's truly remarkable. I mean, that's a remarkable achievement to be able to do that.
Okay.
And
I think, Pramila, there's one thing which is really critical, is that we intentionally chose to work in an urban environment, and we chose to pick up people who actually left their livelihood somewhere else and came with their skill sets to cities, or learned their skill sets under other masters who have migrated to cities, which gave us the first hint that there is a sense of enterprise in those people. And hence they are willing to remove themselves from their comfort zone and come into this kind of a space where they know it is going to be a struggle. But it is already a struggle for them in their villages, because nobody's going to those villages to pick up that craft anymore.
right.
So if those people have migrated into the cities, we thought that we need to take on the first thing as a challenge, that instead of them being exploited for making cheaper and cheaper things, which was happening in the craft sector in this country, and if you see from the 70s, 80s, the only thing that people could think of is that how do we make things cheaper, because they wanted to compete with
or compete with machine-made goods.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We did that for 5-6 years, and we learned that that's not what we are meant to do, because we were in that industry and hence had to practice what was being done in the industry. So from the inside, we learned that this is not what this industry is meant to be. Because when we said handicrafts or crafts, it was supposed to be beautiful. It was supposed to be a happy space. It was supposed to be a place of pride, and all we see is exploitation. You're fighting for cents against a factory sitting in China, and you're bidding on for $2.33, and then the next guy is $2.31, and like, what are we doing really? So that's when we made a conscious choice that we're going to try really hard to make sure that we aim at the brands who would otherwise go to Italy or Germany to produce things. We want to work with those people and make sure that we can bring that business into our,
and appreciate quality more than
exactly
the price tag.
Exactly. And made in India.
And
very important.
Yes. I mean, it was so wonderful to hear that from you. Okay, this is what I want, that tag of made in India on the product. So thank you so much. I just, before we close, I would like to have your idea on how you would advise the young designers aspiring as well as the ones who are studying or graduating in terms of how they should look at their journey, their design journey. What is it that they need to keep in mind? Your key advice.
See, most of the students are at an age where I think it is very confusing for everyone, because there's a sense of pressure from the family, the peers. You see successful people, and you know that you have to step into that world and suddenly start performing. I think the first thing that they need to understand is that you don't work for anyone. You are not working for your parents. You're working for something which will make your parents proud. And I think that is the only thing you need to focus on. That you need to do something which will make them proud. You don't have to do something because my parents expect it out of me, or my friends expect it out of me. I was very, very fortunate that none of my family knew the word D of design. And they're still confused about what exactly do I do. Right?
Which is a good thing, right?
Exactly. And my brother's been with me for the longest time. And I know that there are days when he's fascinated about how are we thinking like this? Why are we doing this? So what are we going to do next? My father, on the other end, every time he comes, he's like, but you were designing boxes last time when I was here. This time you're doing a piece of furniture. What's going on? Have you changed your line? It is not like that. So I think, so there is one small thing which I made as as a motto for myself is that if I don't find a sense of purpose, I don't need to do it. And it's easier said than done. It requires immense amount of sacrifice from all ends, from your family side, for them to be understanding, for your immediate family like your wives and kids and your siblings, for them to understand that it's not going to be an easy journey. Not everybody can get lucky and become a YouTuber on day one because you hit upon a viral video. It doesn't.
Design is not one of those. It doesn't lend itself well to that,
And I'm hoping for everyone that it works for them. but it is in the real world. I don't think it is that simple most of the times. So I think I used to tell myself that there are three things that I need to have. I need to have courage. I need to have will. And I need to have patience. If I can balance these three and I can dedicate those three things towards anything, I think I can.
See.
If I can't make any one of those three, I don't think I should be touching it. So I think those are very, very important things for anybody to learn and balance, regardless of what you're doing. Especially in design, you need patience and perseverance. Is probably at the top of the list, because if you want the world to look at something which is new, you are actually expecting them to change their thought process, and change does not come easy to most people. But then I also say that the world does not want to change, but that does not mean that I'm going to give up trying.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you so much. I think we'll close on that note. And it's been such a delight speaking to you today.
Thank you very, very.
Thanks.